Hey, this is Dr. Mort Orman, and welcome to another episode of Story Time, where we look at stories that we tell ourselves or that other people tell us, and we believe, that aren't really true and therefore get us into trouble and sometimes cause us to have stress. So, the title of the story for today is How Many Monkeys Does It Take to Clean a Sweet Potato? And the answer is 100. Now, how do I know that's the answer? Well, that's because back in the 1970s, there was a phenomenon that was recognized and popularized called the 100th monkey effect. And this was a story that was told and was picked up and embellished and circulated. There were even books written about it. There's a book with the title, The 100th Monkey Effect. And the whole idea was based on some research that was done in the 1950s by some Japanese scientists who were studying monkey populations on some islands in the Pacific. And these islands were distant from each other, and they had monkey populations on similar monkey populations on them. And the researchers came to one island and stayed there for several years, studied the monkey population, brought some sweet potatoes onto the island, introduced them to the monkeys, and eventually the monkeys discovered how to wash the potatoes in the water, and that behavior took several years, but it spread among the entire monkey population. And then the researchers moved on later on to another island. They did the same thing. They introduced sweet potatoes to the monkeys, and lo and behold, those monkeys seemed to pick up the sweet potato washing behavior fairly quickly. And the assumption was that somehow, because there was a critical mass of monkey consciousness that had changed on the first island, somehow that awareness was transmitted over the ocean to another island where these monkeys who had no direct contact with the first group of monkeys were somehow affected by this cosmic transfer of cosmic consciousness. And the books were written to sort of support that position that and relate it to human behavior, where if we just get enough people to think a certain way, and we get a critical mass of people, probably more than 100, but we get a critical mass of people, that somehow that new awareness or that new consciousness is going to affect people remotely without any direct contact or interaction with the people who created those thoughts and talked about them. And that was the story. It was later researched more deeply and more accurately and found to be untrue. A lot of mistakes made, a lot of assumptions that were made that weren't actually true. And the whole phenomenon of that cosmic transfer of information or knowledge was completely debunked. But it really didn't matter to the people who told the story. And the point of this story that I'm telling you, how many monkeys does it take to clean a sweet potato, is how vulnerable we are to believe stories when they fit our agendas. When we have an agenda, we are searching for anything we can latch onto that will support our agenda. And it doesn't matter if the actual stories or scientific evidence or somebody's expert opinion, whatever it is correct or not. As long as it supports our agenda and gives us ammunition to fight for our agenda, we're going to latch onto it. And the more we latch onto it emotionally, the more difficult it is for us to accept when it's later shown to be completely bogus. And this is in fact what happened with the 100th monkey phenomenon. And there are still probably many people walking around today who just deny the fact that this isn't true. They firmly believe in transfer of cosmic consciousness, and it's an agenda for them. And facts are not important when you have agendas. So stories that fit our agenda are going to get a stronger pull for us, and we're going to tend to believe them, and we're going to be less likely to look at them honestly, to criticize them, to challenge them, to see if they may be true. And when you do that with any kind of story in life, it's particularly if the story is not consistent with reality and what actually happens or how things happen, you get stress or problems as a consequence. So that's just one type of story. That's one example of one story that was agenda-driven and probably still is agenda-driven today. But you really look at how many other agenda-driven stories have human beings latched onto, or perhaps have you latched onto, that may or may not be accurate, but it might be difficult for you to really do a have an honest assessment of whether they're correct or not. So that's the end of story time for today, and I'll talk to you on the next episode.